Hi Freya,
Hi.
how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good to see you. So tell us a bit about where we are today and what it means to you.
We're in Ravenscourt Park. I live about 20 minutes from here, and I come for a walk here when it gets to the point in the day when I can't sit at my desk anymore and need to clear my head. I also went to school pretty close to here, and when I was a teenager, this is where I would come to meet boys in the park.
Excellent. Good tip for future Freyas. Let's walk. Let's
sure.
walk and talk West Wing style. What's your favourite city that you've visited?
That I visited. Well, I was in New York last week, and that's a pretty high contender. But maybe Santa Fe. It's just so beautiful and so much art and so much fun. Great food.
Brilliant. And what's the first thing you do when you get to a new city?
Usually get lost. I've got a terrible sense of direction.
Brilliant. What's your first musical memory?
When I was not yet 3, sitting and watching my sister Tamsin practice, and asking when I would be allowed to play the violin. And I know I was not yet 3 because the answer was when you're 3.
And what was the first piece of music that you became obsessed by?
Because of, I guess, previous answer, I was so little I don't remember. It's probably some, I don't know, easy violin piece. But first piece I remember being obsessed by was probably Messiaen's Quartet at the End of Time.
Nice. And can you tell us about the first piece of music that you ever wrote?
The first piece that I remember writing down was for 2 violas, and I don't remember that much more about it than it was. Yeah, we wrote a viola duet. That was the first thing I actually put on paper.
And when you start a new piece, where does the inspiration come from?
It's different every time. So some pieces it comes sort of really directly from the instrumentation, and sort of what I want to hear. I guess that's the thing. I think, what do I want to hear for these instruments, for this sound, for this particular duration, for this space, and that's sort of where it starts. And then sometimes there's also sort of an extra musical inspiration as well, or a sort of reference outside of the piece. But yeah, it all comes down to what do I want to hear.
What's the most memorable project you've worked on, if you feel you can say?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of contenders. Probably one of the most memorable might be Permutations, which is a piece in which we created an architectural set for the piece, and also the piece was written for the architectural set, which is made of sort of 6 tons of wood and steel with revolving doors with different acoustics on each side, and ways for audience members to sort of create their own path through the music. That was pretty memorable.
And what are you working on right now?
I am writing a string quartet.
And what would your dream commission be?
I have an opera that I want to write, and I have a specific idea and story, and a commission to write that would be my dream at the moment.
What instruments do you play yourself?
I play the violin and the piano, but not well enough that I would ever play them in front of anyone else.
And do you have a favourite instrument to compose for?
It's between the violin and the voice.
And is there an instrument that you want to write for that you haven't had the chance yet?
Maybe something for electric guitar would be fun. I mean, there's there's ensembles that I'd like to write for, or sort of particular things. But yeah, I'm not sure I've got a particularly good answer to that question.
Fair enough. Who is the most important music teacher that you've ever had, and what did they teach you?
The most important music teacher I had was Oliver Nussin, who was sort of a mentor and friend as well as my teacher, and he taught me so from details of orchestration to sort of tips writing string quartets, for example, to ways of thinking about how time unfolds in music and of listening to other things. But I suppose she's an incredibly generous, open-hearted person, and I suppose that is the most important thing I think you could learn from someone.
So do you come from a musical family?
I come from a sort of arts family, so my dad was sort of on the business side of theatre, and my mum is a sculptor, and my sister is a violinist, Waley-Cohen.
What's the most special reaction you've had from an audience to one of your pieces?
This might be sort of a bit of recency bias, but I did this song cycle called Spellbook, and I sort of wrote different spell songs over the course of several years and finally put together the entire sort of 45-minute dramatic song cycle, and it was done at Barbican instead of a concert of entirely my music this year in February, and it was sort of a really sort of packed out hall, and it was really exuberant, but the sort of most special thing was that the poet whose music I'd set really loved it and sort of said something along the lines of that she felt like I'd sort of reached into her brain and like truly understood her words, which was from an audience member pretty special. Yeah.
Nice. What's the hardest thing about being a professional musician?
Oh God, there's lots of things, but probably you just need a lot of resilience, because it's there's always a lot of setbacks. There's always, I mean, maybe that's a bit negative. It's not that there's always a lot of setbacks, but just when you think there won't be, there still will be. Yeah.
Good advice in life. And what's the best thing about it?
You get to make music. It's the most amazing. I mean, it's sort of pretty obvious, but yeah, getting to spend my life dreaming up sounds and melodies and patterns in music and put them together. That's the best thing. Yeah.
What's a quote you live by?
I don't think I have a quote. It's sort of either loads of quotes or none, so I'm probably just freewheeling it.
Who is your favourite artist that's not a classical musician or composer?
It'd probably be a writer, and I'm a big fan of Deborah Levy, especially her sort of autobiographical trilogy, but maybe Elena Ferrante for the Neapolitan novels. Yeah.
What's the last TV series you binge watched?
I'm in the middle of binge watching Industry right now, which I recommend.
And if you could meet anyone from the past, who would it be?
I don't know if I'd want to. I feel like it would be might be a bit of a disillusionment, whoever it was. I mean, but I'm sort of tempted to say it's not very far in the past, but someone like Messiaen, or maybe go a bit further back, and it'd be pretty cool to meet Hildegard of Bingen and see what she's really about in person. A lot of questions for her. Like, how did you do it all?
What album, piece or playlist have you been playing non-stop recently?
I've been listening to Laura Marling's new album lately. That's really beautiful. And yeah, sort of playlist. With my uni friends, we have playlists that we all contribute to, and I really love listening to those a lot because you just get a lot of different personalities all together.
That sounds brilliant. Yeah. Do you have a fitness or well-being regime that you follow?
I do not. I think the closest I get to well-being is that I like taking a lot of baths.
If you could go to any concert or event, past or present, what would it be?
It would be pretty amazing to be at a premiere of like a Beethoven symphony or something like that you can't imagine what it would be like to hear for the first time ever, and be amongst people who have never heard it and see how that sort of registers to them. Because I think something as a composer, you become so familiar with the piece that you're writing in its particular sort of not yet out in the world form, and so then for every time you're at a premiere, then everyone around you is hearing it for the first time, and there's this sort of dissonance between how you're hearing it as someone who knows it and how they're hearing it, and it's really hard to imagine how they're hearing it, which makes me, I would love to sort of transplant that to something that you know so well that you just can't imagine what it would be like to hear it for the first time. It'd be pretty cool.
And where are you at your most creative?
Yeah, just at my desk. I have a studio. I like being in a small room because I feel like otherwise my thoughts don't get contained well enough. I have a small room that's painted a very bright dark blue, and that's where I write music.
And like, do the ideas come to you there, or do you like, are you a bit like Beethoven? They come to you on a walk and then you sit down and sort of thingy it, or is it?
Yeah, a bit of both. I sort of definitely sort of sit and work things out at the desk a lot, but I also, I go for a walk in Whimsical Park most days, or sort of anywhere. And sometimes ideas come when you're like, making a cup of tea or like in the shower, just sort of, it's actually once you sort of dive into a piece and start getting it stuck in your head, or start getting, kind of once you're beginning to write a piece, but anytime you're not at the desk, you still have it in your head and can't stop thinking about it. That's where things get interesting. Yeah.
What's the phrase that you just say way too much?
George, what's the phrase that I would? I don't know what phrase I say too much. That's really distracting. What's the phrase that I say too much? I don't know. I'm not self-aware enough to know, I guess.
We'll tell you by the end.
Yeah, you tell me.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
Night person.
What's your ideal holiday?
Packing in way too much and getting overtired, probably. No. Sort of city breaks too far. Also, maybe that's not a city break. Backpacking in far-flung places where there's like a lot to do. Yeah.
What's your favourite season?
Summer.
What's the best activity when you're at home on a rainy day?
Reading, drawing. I used to do sort of little drawings and watercolours of demons on a rainy day. That's something. Yeah.
What was your worst subject at school?
I think biology. Maybe geography. I was pretty bad at geography.
You did say you get lost.
I did get lost quite easily, yeah.
What's your top tip? Buying a map might be the answer to this. What's your top tips for surviving when you're away from home for work?
Look for things to make you feel excited about being in the place, rather than just feeling like you're sort of surviving being away.
What's the best coffee you've ever had?
Best coffee I've ever had. There's a place called Plenty in Philadelphia, which is really obsessively perfectionist about his coffee. I think that might be the best coffee I've ever had.
And for breakfast, is it full English, continental, or other?
Other. My favourite breakfast is probably rice with eggs and cabbage and hot sauce.
For breakfast?
For breakfast.
Breakfast.
Yes.
It's bold.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Baroque or classical?
Depends on the day.
What's your superhero ability?
I don't think I consider that I do have one, so I'm going to go with if I had one. I would love to be able to teleport. As long as that didn't mean that, like, the whole thing of, like, does that mean that you don't exist? So maybe, like, fly really fast. Yeah, fly. Let's go with fly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Can you tell us a joke?
No. I don't think... not on the spot. Actually, what's blue and square?
Don't know. What
An
is
orange
blue?
in disguise. It's an old classic.
Thanks very much.
That's it.
That's
Okay.
it. Brilliant. It's been fun.